Hello and welcome to my workshop, where we're going to ride, repair, and review as much as we can about bikes. Today we're going to go over 5 things that any home mechanic with a multi-tool and some patience can do while their bike is sitting in the garage during the off-season. We're going to check spoke tension, we're going to replace worn brake pads, install some bar ends that are either missing or broken, install new pedals, and we're going to clean and re-lubricate the chain. So let's jump right in. I'm going to first look at the wheels. I'm going to look at how the wheel spins, make sure the wheel is true. I'm then going to look at the brakes. This bike happens to have rim brakes, which means that there's a clamp that goes directly onto the rim. Your bike may also have disc brakes, similar to your car, where you may have a caliper down here. Either way, these brake pads or those brake pads need to be examined, reviewed, and replaced in the event that they are too low. This bike is getting new brake pads today. Stay tuned on how to install those later on in the video. Since I'm here at the front of the bike, I'm going to take a look at some loose spokes. There are a number of loose spokes around this wheel, and the wheel is not spinning true. That means that I can see here, looking at it dead on, that it is moving closer and further from a particular brake pad as it goes through its rotation. So I'm going to try to grab some of these spokes. Oh, and look at this loose one. You can see here that this one is significantly looser than all the spokes around it. This one alone is going to pull it towards the area that it needs to go. So I might just be able to tighten this one up. You can use a adequately sized spoke wrench, which looks like this. This is just going to sit around one of your spokes and you can turn it appropriately. Let's get the right spoke so I don't screw this up. So this sits on here, and then you can just tighten your spokes this way as well. These spokes do not need to be super tight. This isn't like it's a bolt that's holding something on. These are all tensioned, should be uniformly. So when we spin this, oh, isn't that much nicer? Oh, that looks fantastic. Just by tightening up that one loose spoke that was right near our valve, it made everything else kind of tune right up. So all of a sudden now, all these spokes feel pretty even all the way through. I'm just giving them a little pinch here. And everything feels pretty good. So I'm gonna call this wheel done. The front brakes here actually have a fair bit of material left on the pads, but the rears have nothing left on them. So I decided to replace both of them. As far as the thing that prevents you from going careening into another car or a bicyclist or a barrier or something else, your brakes are very important. Don't skimp on your brakes. First thing I'm gonna have to do is pull off the front wheel because I can't get to these brake pads without pulling these off. This little lever opens it up, and then you can undo the nuts down here and drop the wheel out from the bike super easy. You don't have to mess with your cable tension. Here I'm just using very simple adjustable wrench. Some of your bikes will have quick release levers. This being a city bike, you don't want quick release because quick release means quickly stolen. If you're gonna work on your bike along with maybe that spoke wrench, one of the first purchases I would make is a good multi-tool. This is an old multi-tool. I've had this easily for 15 years. Is invaluable. This can go with you on your rides. This can go with you in the shop. This one tool could probably take apart 75% of this bike. Everything that a home mechanic would need to do on a bicycle can probably be done with this multi-tool right here, or a nice set of hex wrenches. It might look like a set of these. I happen to like using T-handle wrenches like this one. They're size specific. I happen to like that, but they are more specialty than potentially the standard Allen key. The one thing to remember with tools is don't use cheap tools. Don't use the freebies you get from at-home assembly furniture. I'm gonna use the multi-tool here to show you that a $30 tool that can last for 15 years is all that you need to be a decent home mechanic. When you're taking these out, don't lose track of the order of which some of these devices on here come out. Both sides of the pad are going to have these cupped washers, and these cupped washers are going to allow you to position it perfectly parallel with the rim itself. So these are adjustments you can kind of like, you know, tighten it, align it, tighten it, align it, get everything nice and squared up, and then really clamp it down once you're done replacing it. All right, whatever. So I mentioned before, there's these cupped washers. There's one here, and then there's the cup that sits in there, and then here's the brake caliper arm. Then there's another cupped washer here, and there's a convex. They're both convex ones are actually on the brake caliper itself, and then the concave ones here sit on the outside. If this happened to be too close to your rim and we need to pull this out a little bit, we could switch this concave one with this concave one because it's about half the width. Here on the other one, doing the same thing. Remember, convex side is going against the caliper. So as you can see, these are nice and loose. I can move them around. There is nothing preventing these things from being adjusted. Here is a new tool that I'm going to be using for the first time right now. This is a brake pad positioning device. This sits right here on the wheel, and then I'm going to rotate this in between the brake pads. I'm going to clamp that little lever that we loosened up earlier, and then I should be able to, it's going to sit right in this little area, and I'll be able to tighten it up, and it should align it just perfectly. And I just found another loose spoke. What the heck? I am so excited. Love new tools. So first things first, get the wheel back in place. Then just a little bit more snugged up now. Beautiful. I'm going to rotate this guy. Oh, that's so cool. Whatever you do, do not adjust your brake caliper with this lever in the open position. Make sure to close it. So this should get it lined up just perfectly. Then I can take my multi-tool, just go in here and tighten this down. The cupped washers, concave and convex washers that I was talking about earlier, are going to center the brake pad along the wheel, so I don't have to sit here and try to get it just right. Just by putting the pressure on it from the brake lever up here, it's going to get everything lined up. Cool. That's a neat little tool for rim brakes. That's the first time I've used it, and nothing better than using a cool new tool. I'm going to do those on the back, and then we're going to work on the drivetrain. We're going to replace these pedals with these beefier, thicker, not broken set. That shouldn't be cutting your insides open in the event of a crash. Most nicer high-end pedals have a hex head slot cut out on the back side of the pedal stem, so you can just go from the back side and loosen them and then tighten them appropriately. Cheap ones do not. These are cheap ones, and I'm actually going to put another cheap set on. I have a pedal wrench. If you have higher end biking stuff, you really don't need this in your garage or in the workshop, but if you have cheaper bikes, they tend to come with cheaper pedals, so you'll need a pedal wrench. Pedals will always tighten in the rotation of the crank. So one of them goes normal threading, one of them's reverse threaded. So the one that we're looking at here on the drive side is normal threaded, so that as you spin the pedal around, tightening is pushing it this way. So, but on the back side, it's reverse threaded, so that when you're pedaling forward, it's still tightening it, so that your pedals don't have to be locked in there. You can just tighten them up and they will naturally stay tight because you're always spinning them in a tightening direction on both sides. Always want to push away from the bike. I have to spin the pedal this way to loosen it. So I want to pull it down from this direction. You don't want to push up towards the bike especially on multi-geared bikes. This is a single speed, but if you have a multi-geared bike and there's open gears and your hand slips and it hits one of those gears, it's gonna chop your hand up. So here, I got it on there, I'm comfortable, the bike's secure, and I'm just gonna give it one good push. These are going right in the garbage. When you're doing this, take a little dab of grease, put it on your finger, and just wipe it on the threads. You don't need a lot. But again, this is not gonna loosen up. We don't need torque here to keep it tight. If you keep a little bit of lubricant on them, it's gonna help you drastically in being able to get them off, service them, replace them. I switch on my mountain bike between flats and flipless pedals all the time. There's a lot of ways to clean up a drivetrain. You can sit here with a toothbrush and some soap and scrub it by hand. I choose not to do that. I use this bike chain cleaning device. I like cleaning my chain very frequently. This makes it so easy. The chain scrubber CM-5.2 is inexpensive, easy to use. You put a little bit of Simple Green in it, fill it up to the fill line here, and then you just run your chain backwards like this, and you're done. I'm gonna do that 2 more times now with water. That water is gonna rinse it, get all that degreaser off. It's gonna allow that degreaser that's on there now to sit and work in there, and then we're gonna do a rinse cycle twice. I'm gonna let this dry. I'm gonna put this on. I'm just gonna go link by link. Put it on, rotate it, put it on. Let it sit for a couple minutes, and then take some sort of rag. Don't take a paper towel, take a rag so it doesn't, you know, get paper towel bits caught up into it. Gently rub all the excess lube off of the chain. You really don't want to get caught up with too much lube because that's going to attract dirt. You want it, realistically, the lube that's going to be doing the best work is actually going to get underneath these rollers. You're not even going to see it. So what's on the outside isn't terribly important. This bike had no end caps, which seems kind of minor, but if you fall on an open bar end, this is aluminum, it's hard. If that's your gut that you fall onto, or your some other doughy part of your body, the bar's gonna win. I'm gonna tuck all this extra grip tape in here, push that in, that slips in like that. Then I'm gonna take, in this case, my T-handle wrench. Doesn't need to be crazy tight, just tight enough that it doesn't fall out. And this thing isn't coming out. Last but not least, get out and ride and enjoy working on your bike. I love spending time working on the bike. I think it's so much fun being in an environment where I can just tinker, get little projects done. Once you got the right tools, no project takes too long on a bicycle. You don't have to get it up on jack stands like a car or get out all these big tools. You know, it's a set of Allen keys, it's a couple little specialty tools, and you can get a lot done in an hour, and it's so much fun. And then you own it, and you know the bike is safe, and you know it's gonna work well, and you can tinker and have fun with it, and I think it's a blast. If you have any questions about working on a bike, let me know, send me a message, put a comment below, or reach out to me, and maybe I'll do a video working on your bike. If you're in the Philadelphia area and you got a bike that needs a little maintenance, let me know. I'd love to do some of these projects and turn them into a video. With all the new riders that are out there right now, there's no shortage of bikes that need work. And all these new riders need knowledge, guidance, and the ability to work on their own bike and know bike etiquette. I think the best way that I can go about helping these new riders is doing just what I'm doing here. You know, if this kind of video is helpful, let me know and I can do more of them. I want to welcome new riders into the sport, or old riders that want to get out and work on their bike now because all the bike shops are busy and packed and have no parts left. So let me know how I can be an ambassador to your biking experience and get out and enjoy the weather once the snow melts. Have a good one.